the scrolls and the message they bear. Among the most mysterious finds wasn't found inside the sarcophagus, but near the rear of the chamber, where black scorch marks traced the stone walls. Forensic imaging revealed a pattern of soot and embedded ink, as if scrolls had been burned directly against the surface. Painstaking analysis recovered partial text fragments, phrases etched into the memory of stone. The writing was damaged, erratic, but consistent with early Paleo-Hebrew, suggesting the fire occurred during or shortly after burial. And what the fragments said was not reassuring. Lines recovered included phrases like, "Knowledge not meant to be seen," "The king who binds his legacy beneath Zion," "Let no man awaken what sleeps beneath the veil." One final line, partially obscured by mineral staining, read, "It's all been a lie." The implication sent a wave of panic through the academic community. Was this a warning to tomb robbers, a religious parable, or, if taken literally, was someone in the ancient world actively concealing a truth that contradicted accepted history? Another theory surfaced, more terrifying still. Perhaps the scrolls weren't just records. Perhaps they were sealed knowledge, philosophical, political, maybe even technological insights from Solomon's reign. If that were true, the scrolls weren't just sacred, they were dangerous. The charred vessels found nearby showed signs of deliberate ignition. Someone, sometime after the burial, came back, not to preserve the message, but to destroy it. The dead may lie still, but knowledge has a way of escaping its grave. Fragment note, translated by Paleolinguistics Team, 2025. The consensus and the unsettling conclusion. By early 2025, under increasing global scrutiny and operating with layers of government oversight, the excavation team released a carefully worded preliminary consensus. It was cautiously optimistic, meticulously phrased, but the implications were monumental. The tomb, they concluded, likely originated from the First Temple period. Radiocarbon testing of linen remnants, architectural analysis of the chamber's ashlar masonry, and typological studies of nearby pottery all pointed to a burial timeframe between 950 to 900 BCE. That window didn't just align with the traditional reign of Solomon, it sat squarely within it. But names matter, and this tomb offered none. No inscriptions graced the sarcophagus, no symbols, no family crests, no references to kingship. Even the alabaster jar, so delicately preserved, bore no royal markings. Attempts at DNA sequencing returned only degraded strands, fragmentary and inconclusive. Without an inscription or a genetic match, the figure inside remained unnamed. Yet everything, the site, the scale, the design, pointed towards someone of immense stature. But here's where the consensus broke from tradition. This was not a tomb of glory. There were no offerings, no tributes, no markers of legacy. The chamber's sealed isolation, the defensive wall surrounding it, and the cryptic nature of the scroll fragments told a different story. A story not of commemoration, but of concealment. The chamber was intentionally hidden, protected, even fortified, not just against looters, but against discovery itself. And that realization unsettled even the most seasoned scholars. If this was indeed Solomon or a royal contemporary, then the final act of their life was not to enshrine wisdom, but to bury it. This led to what researchers are now calling the Solomon paradox. The idea that the man celebrated as the embodiment of divine wisdom, the architect of Israel's golden age, may have chosen to withhold rather than share, to seal rather than reveal. What kind of knowledge could have prompted such an act? The scroll fragments only deepened the mystery. Scorched into the stone wall near the burial site was a phrase now echoing through academic symposiums, religious institutions, and political briefings worldwide. It's all been a lie. Was this the voice of a disillusioned king, a theological rebel, a historical revisionist whose story never made it into canon? The questions multiplied, each one more disruptive than the last. What lie? Was it about the temple, the nature of kingship, the foundation myths of Jerusalem, or something even more fundamental, a hidden truth intentionally erased from collective memory? Theologians tread carefully. Politicians avoid comment. But behind closed doors, experts across disciplines are starting to agree. Whatever happened in that chamber, whatever truth was locked behind its stone, was meant to stay buried. Perhaps Solomon's greatest temple wasn't built with stone. It was built with secrecy. Dr. A. Rahim, Historical Theologies Roundtable, Geneva, 2025. And if that's true, then the greatest act of one of history's wisest men may have been erasing the truth before it could ever be known. What comes next? After the dust settles. Today, the site remains under tight lock and surveillance. There are no guided tours, no media access, no public announcements. Even seasoned researchers, some of whom were part of the original discovery, have been denied return entry. In mid-2025, after months of quiet activity, the chamber was officially resealed, with climate controls, motion sensors, and a classified surveillance system installed. A wide perimeter now rings the ancient section of the City of David, guarded not only by archaeology teams, but by state-level security forces. The official language is vague. Further analysis required, some statements read. Cultural sensitivities, others say. But behind closed doors, insiders speak in different terms, words like classified, volatile, and destabilizing. Key portions of the report have been redacted under both religious exemption laws and national security directives. Whatever truth lies beneath Jerusalem, it seems, is still too potent to name openly. Meanwhile, the global conversation has reached a fever pitch. Some scholars argue the tomb confirms ancient texts, a sign that biblical narratives have more historical weight than previously acknowledged. Others warn that what's been found could shatter long-held beliefs. After all, if a figure like Solomon buried a truth so profound, he surrounded it with silence and stone, what else might be waiting beneath centuries of scripture? For many, the question isn't just whether the tomb belonged to Solomon, but why he was buried in secrecy. Why the scrolls? Why the defensive wall? Why the cryptic warnings burned into the stone? Across laboratories in Germany, Israel, and the United States, multispectral imaging is now being applied to the ink traces, hoping to reveal faded words invisible to the naked eye. Teams are reconstructing the burned scrolls, using machine learning models trained on Paleo-Hebrew syntax. Other researchers are comparing the chamber's geometry with Egyptian, Phoenician, and Mesopotamian royal tombs, looking for clues not in the text but in the design. And then there are the theologians, grappling not with material findings but with moral consequences. If Solomon, the wisest of the wise, sealed something away, what did he see coming? Did he fear misuse of knowledge? Did he regret something he'd done? Or did he simply recognize that some truths are too dangerous for any age? Because perhaps, in the end, this was never about gold, never about a throne, never even about a name. Maybe Solomon's legacy was not what he built above ground, but what he deliberately concealed beneath it, a knowledge, a history, or a warning, too complex for ancient hands, and still too raw for ours. The greatest secrets of a civilization are never lost in war. They're buried on purpose. Closing statement, Committee on Historical Ethics, 2025. And so we're left not with certainty, but with a question. A quiet echo beneath the noise of modern life, one that lingers, that unsettles, and that might take another generation to truly understand. What truth lies beneath our oldest stories, waiting to be unearthed when the world is ready to listen? The lid is open, but clarity remains sealed. King Solomon's tomb didn't answer questions. It unleashed them. Beneath the stone was no treasure, only tension between faith and fact, memory and manipulation. Whatever truth sleeps under Jerusalem, one thing is now certain. Some secrets weren't lost. They were hidden deliberately.